Zuri here in week 9 of the Huddle, and there's a hint of playoffs in the air. Why, you may ask? Because 7 spots were locked up this last week. There's a lot to discuss. We're in the 4th quarter of this season. But first, let's take a look at some highlights from this past week, shall we? Beverly hosting Swampscott in Cape Ann Northeastern action. Swampscott's Michael Walsh takes over this game. He runs in a 2-yard touchdown right here, but here comes the trickery. Walsh passes to A.J. Baker, who then throws it right back to Walsh, and he puts on the Jets and goes 49 yards for a touchdown. He tacked on a 13-yard touchdown run in the 4th quarter to help seal the win for the Panthers. Swampscott 21, Beverly 13. In East Boston, the Jets retired jerseys for longtime coach John Sousa and former NFL tight end Jermaine Wiggins at the game. Then East Boston ran off 51 points against English in a 51-12 rout. Kyle Jimenez-Fox ran for 2 touchdowns in the game. In Hyannis, an old Colony League matchup with Barnstable hosting Bridgewater Raynham with a playoff berth on the line. In the first offensive play of the game, BR's Nick Schlaps goes 73 yards for a touchdown. Barnstable's Theo France broke loose in the 2nd quarter for a 49-yard touchdown. All these long runs. He had 2 rushing touchdowns on the day. All tied up in the 3rd quarter, Barnstable's Nick Peabody throws a 9-yard TD to Tadaro France, Theo's brother. BR follows in the 4th quarter with a 5-yard TD run by Brandon Morin. This one went to overtime, and Barnstable's defense was stout. 4 straight plays from BR, and the Trojans get nada. Barnstable up next in overtime. Hayden Murphy takes the snap in the shotgun and runs right up the gut for a 5-yard touchdown to win the game. Barnstable 26, Bridgewater Raynham 20. In other top games, number 3 BC High beat number 11 Zavarian 16-6. Eagles running back Deontay Ramey Doe rushed for 204 yards and scored 2 touchdowns in the win. Undefeated Lincoln Sudbury kept its streak going in a 21-14 win over Acton Boxborough. Chris Giorgio ran for 2 touchdowns as LS clinched a dual county large playoff berth. They'll play Barnstable. Number 14 Andover beat up on number 13 Billerica 44-28. Andy Koch ran for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win. And Framingham upset number 17 Needham 22-21. Framingham's Michael Stearns caught a 4-yard TD pass with 1 second left in the game. Also of note this week, a couple of teams pulled down their first wins of the season. Gloucester beat Salem 35-0 and Cambridge beat Medford 36-28, so it's nice for them to get their first W's on the board. I've got Boston Globe High School sports editor here with me, Bob Holmes. Bob, we now have playoff teams to look at. What are the matchups we should be looking at from week 9 to week 10 and on to Thanksgiving?
I love this weekend, the Brockton against New Bedford game. We look and concentrate on all the teams with the shiny records, the 9-0s against the 9-0s. Here are 2 teams in the Big 3, barely 500, and they're playing with a Division I playoff spot on the line.
Yeah, and you know what? There was a little bit, you wrote about this yesterday, there's a little bit of controversy with Brockton and the MIA, whether or not they should get in if they're under 500.
Yeah, the Big 3 has a rule that very simply you have to win more than you lose, and if you don't, the 2nd place team goes. So not only does Brockton have to win against New Bedford, they have to win on Thanksgiving as well.
All right, so a number of teams also clinched this past week, and for all those teams, you can just check us out on boston.com/schools. But what is the teams that we should be looking at going into this upcoming week that may clinch?
Well, how about down in the Cape? We've focused on Dennis Yarmouth. We've said how good they are. We focused a lot on Barnstable and their amazing comeback. How about Mashpee? They play against East Bridgewater this week. Both teams are 9-0. Both teams are looking to get into the playoffs, and Mashpee has been one of the great stories on the Cape this fall.
All right. We can call that our game of the week right there. That should do it for this week. For all these stories and more, and an updated Boston.com 100, the always important rankings, go to boston.com/schools. For past episodes of The Huddle, go to boston.com/huddle. I'm Zuri, he's Bob, and hopefully next week we'll talk more turkey.